And with that sound, we are back with yet another edition of American Football News. This week, the NFL. We apologize for not having an episode last week. With Thanksgiving and there being a plethora of Thursday games on the docket, there was simply no time for us to catch up from the week before and display and talk about the next upcoming week's games. However, that gives us a lot of cannon ammunition to talk about this particular week. This upcoming week is Week 13 in the NFL. We just completed Week 12, and we'll recap some of the highlights from Week 12 right now. There were 3 games on Thanksgiving last Thursday, all of which were particularly good, and everything kicked off with the game at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, live from Detroit, Michigan, the original Thanksgiving Day team. It was only given to 2 teams originally, the Dallas Cowboys and the Detroit Lions, because nobody else wanted to play on Thanksgiving. And now that everybody plays on Thanksgiving, it's sort of lost its mystique and its luster a little bit, but those of us in the Midwest and those of us who have parents who have been watching this game for a particularly long time know who the originals are and where the game really is at. However, we go back to Detroit. The Lions took on the NFC North Division leading champion Chicago Bears, and the Bears really didn't do anything to impress me or to really win this game outright. It was more of the Lions doing what the Lions do, and that is self-destruct. Matt Stafford threw 2 picks at the most inopportune times. Chicago had a pick 6. The rest of it is history. The Bears end up winning on Thanksgiving Day against the Lions, 23-16. Our second game on Thanksgiving Day was a bit of a rivalry from the 70s and 80s, that is. The red-hot Dallas Cowboys took on the Washington Redskins, who were probably the best team in that division until Alex Smith's gruesome, and I mean gruesome, leg injury, so bad that it might end his career. And a lot of people talking about Joe Theismann's injury back in the 80s at the hands of Lawrence Taylor. Very, very similar. And you got to feel bad for Alex Smith, who's been bounced around the league quite a bit. And it seemed to be that he had something going for him in Washington, only to have that happen. Ezekiel Elliott, Dak Prescott, and company really turned up the heat on the Redskins and were able to walk out of Dallas on Thanksgiving Day with a win, 31-23. The final game for Thursday was quite a good one. The Atlanta Falcons took on NFC South rival the New Orleans Saints. The Saints riding quite a win streak. Drew Brees playing very, very well right now. The Saints looking like a contender to win it all and go to the Super Bowl for the NFC. And they really flexed their muscles last Thursday against the Falcons. Were able to easily overpower Matt Ryan and company and walked away with a 31-17 win. A couple other close games that we'll take a look at. The Buffalo Bills defeated the slumping Jacksonville Jaguars 24-21. The Battle of Ohio took place this last Sunday. The Cleveland Browns playing the Cincinnati Bengals. And Baker Mayfield playing very, very well now that Hugh Jackson is out of Cleveland. However, don't get too excited. This is the Browns, and they did pooch their chance at the beginning of the season. So good for them that they're on their way up, but they still got a long ways to go. But they did take care of business in defeating the Bengals 35-20. Let's see, AFC East Division rivals, the New England Patriots took on the New York Jets. Happy to get Rob Gronkowski back into the lineup, and they quickly made short work of the Jets. Final score in that one, 27-23. One of the bigger rivalries in the NFL, the New York Giants and the Philadelphia Eagles. These guys have had memorable moments all the way back to the 80s. Maybe even before then. But really the biggest moments coming from the 80s and on. Both these teams underperforming, especially the Philadelphia Eagles, who are the defending Super Bowl champions. But this was a good game. A lot at stake here, a lot of pride. Rivalry games are always fun to watch. And the Eagles win on a last-second field goal over the Giants, 25-22. Speaking of close games, if you watch the Seattle Seahawks, you'll see that they're trending upward, and their opponent from last week, the Carolina Panthers, are kind of trending downward. The Seahawks were able to put together a complete game and overpower Cam Newton and the Carolina Panthers, and won by 3 with a final score of 30-27. Speaking of playing down, the Pittsburgh Steelers, who were on quite a streak themselves, took on the Denver Broncos this past weekend at Mile High Stadium in Denver, Colorado. And it was a good game, back and forth. Too many drops, though, by Pittsburgh Steelers receivers, and too many opportunities missed by Ben Roethlisberger. However, he was able to clean up his act a little bit in the fourth and came within 7 of the Broncos, and was on the goal line about to tie the game when he threw an errant pass to a receiver that was not there. Denver picks it off, secures the win, and walks out of Mile High Stadium with a win over the mighty Steelers, 24-17. The Indianapolis Colts are a surprise. Andrew Luck is playing very, very well, and I, for one, am happy for him because it's a team, and it's a guy that I like, and I hope for the best. And it looks like the worst days are behind the Indianapolis Colts. They took on the Miami Dolphins this past Sunday. Great game, another game decided by a field goal, and the Colts were able to walk away with another victory for Andrew Luck with a final score of 27-24. Sunday Night Football was a classic matchup. The NFC North once again showcased in this particular Sunday night matchup. The Green Bay Packers traveling to Minnesota to take on Kirk Cousins and the Vikings. However, this would not be Aaron Rodgers' night. The Vikings defense simply too much for Green Bay to figure out, and Kirk Cousins bouncing back in a very, very positive way from the previous Sunday's loss to the Chicago Bears. Vikings keep their second place position in the NFC North, and as of right now have a wild card spot if the playoffs were to start, easily defeating the Green Bay Packers by a score of 24-17. Week 12 concluded Monday night with a game between two AFC South rivals. The Houston Texans, who were looking to pick up win number 8, took on the red-hot Tennessee Titans, who have put together a string of wins here lately and have separated themselves from the bottom of the AFC South, at least. However, the Houston Texans defense and Deshaun Watson are playing very, 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 very well right now. And I'd be hard-pressed to say that anybody in the AFC outside of maybe New England or Kansas City has a chance of defeating these guys. Very good at the defensive side of the ball and very balanced on the offensive side of the ball. They made short work of the Titans, 34-17. Speaking of divisions and stuff like that, we're going to go over some of the leaders in the NFL right now and their respective divisions, starting with the AFC. In the AFC East, the top team to beat is New England, and it's not even close. The next closest team is Miami, and they're 5-6, followed by Buffalo and the New York Jets. You can see New England running away with that one and probably being the only team from that particular division going to the playoffs. The AFC North is a bit more competitive and a bit closer. The Pittsburgh Steelers, the top dog in that category, followed closely by the Baltimore Ravens, the Cincinnati Bengals, and at the basement is the Cleveland Browns. But don't sleep on the Browns. They're 4-6-1, and really only one game behind the Cincinnati Bengals, who are 5-6-0. Continuing our trend with the AFC and the AFC South, we just got done talking about this team, the Houston Texans, sitting on top at 8-3, followed by a resurgent Indianapolis Colts, who have moved into second place at 6-5. Tennessee gets knocked down because of their loss to Houston at 5-6, and one of the worst teams in the NFL this year, the Jacksonville Jaguars, sitting at 3-8. In the AFC West, this is probably the most compelling division in the AFC. You have two teams that are just going to slug it out until the very end, and when the dust settles, only one will be able to stand. The Kansas City Chiefs are in charge of the division at this point in time, sitting at 9-2, but are followed very, very closely by the LA Chargers, who are only a game behind, sitting at 8-3, followed up by the Denver Broncos and sitting at the bottom of the AFC West, and also one of the worst teams in the NFL this year, the Oakland Raiders, sitting at 2-9. We bounce now across to the NFC and take a look at the NFC East. This is a very, very evenly matched division. The Dallas Cowboys and the Washington Redskins are sharing first place at this point in time at 6-5. The defending Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles are in third place in the NFC at 5-6, and at the bottom, one of the worst teams in the NFL, the New York Giants. Go now to the NFC North. Things are a little bit top-heavy. The Chicago Bears, the team to beat, sitting at 8-3, followed by the Minnesota Vikings, who are 6-4-1. Green Bay has effectively been knocked out of the conversation, it seems like, when it comes to the playoffs. They're sitting at 4-6-1. And the Detroit Lions, once again in the basement in their usual spot, coming in at 4-7 on the year. In the NFC South, it's not even close. There's only one team to watch in the NFC South, and that is the mighty New Orleans Saints, sitting at 10-1 on the year, followed by the Carolina Panthers, who are trending downward at 6-5. And the bottom is shared by the Atlanta Falcons and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, both coming in respectively at 4-7. We go now to the NFC West. This is another division that is very, very heavy on the top, and on the bottom you have some very bad teams. The LA Rams are the team to beat in that division, followed closely now by the Seattle Seahawks, who have started to trend upwards. Russell Wilson really starting to play well. And at the bottom are the Arizona Cardinals and the San Francisco 49ers, who are both sitting at 2-9. Week 13 will take place tomorrow, actually, with the kickoff coming between the New Orleans Saints and the Dallas Cowboys. This is a game that you can view this Thursday, November 29th, kickoff scheduled for 8:20. You can check this out on the Fox Network or the NFL Network. A couple other interesting games to take a look at. I don't want to say it, but I'm going to say it because the last time that a good team came to town, they made them look foolish. The 10-1 Los Angeles Rams are going to Detroit to take on the Detroit Lions Sunday, December 2nd. This game's scheduled for a 1 p.m. kickoff. You can catch this on Fox. Despite the fact that the Rams are 10-1 and the Detroit Lions are 4-7, you got to remember, this is a Lions team that made the New England Patriots look absolutely terrible earlier in the year. And once upon a time, the Rams, who were then in Missouri and playing in St. Louis, had a very, very good team in 2001 and had a very, very good quarterback by the name of Kurt Warner, who traveled to Detroit to take on a very, very poor Detroit Lions team, and the Lions won. So you can't sleep on this team. There might be an upset here. Don't think anything of it too much. If the Lions do win, they're at home, and the Rams may be looking to rest some of their starters in lieu of making a playoff push. Let's see, we continue down the line here, and we have another closer, more interesting matchup. NFC South rivals going at it, the Carolina Panthers and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers playing Sunday. This game also scheduled for a 1 p.m. kickoff. You can catch it on Fox in your respective areas. A lot of lopsided games this week. The Chiefs taking on the Oakland Raiders. You can catch that game on CBS. That's scheduled for a 4:05 kickoff on December 2nd. One of the more even matchups that we see here, the Minnesota Vikings taking on the New England Patriots. You can catch that game on Fox on Sunday, December 2nd. Kickoff scheduled for 4:25 p.m. We go to the Sunday night game, which is very, very interesting, and I'm personally going to be watching this because, one, I'm a fan of one of the teams, and two, I love watching Sunday night football. The Chargers take on the Steelers on NBC at 8:20 p.m. on Sunday, and be sure to catch the Monday night game on ESPN, the Redskins taking on the Philadelphia Eagles, Monday, December 3rd at 8:15. All right, thank you for listening, and have a nice day.